Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 31 of the Geek Cause podcast.
Wowee.
Wowee, indeed.
31 episodes.
30. Are you, every single time, are you going to say what it is and
Yep.
31 episodes, like, 29 episodes.
We've met it. Every week.
So if you follow us on Twitter, you would know that I put an update on there that says we actually surpassed 500 total listens on the podcast.
Which is a milestone.
It is a milestone.
That is a milestone, by definition.
Yes, and that's like, I don't know, how many listens? It's over 10 listens a podcast episode. I know that is what it averages out to. Which is, yeah. I mean, that's not that bad. I mean, if you figure, I know Becca doesn't listen to the podcast, so I don't have to count that in the numbers there.
Oh, wow.
And if you count me and you probably giving it a listen, then that means that there's at least several other people, at least seven other people that listen to it other than us. Wow, that's
I know at least 5 people that listen to it.
There you go.
Every week.
Every week. Well, then that makes that is a milestone. I don't care what anybody says. One listen is a positive thing. And it really shows something. And
because we don't do it for the listens.
I mean, like, we don't do it for the listens. We do it because we would like people to listen, but we want them to listen for themselves, not for us. If that makes any sense to those who are trying to understand the method to this madness.
Yeah. We actually like this because we just really like the sound of our own voice.
That's true. But we also just like to catch up on the news together, and it allows us to kind of just not only talk about it with each other, but keep ourselves informed in the know to know what's going on. And because of that, we're able to easily kind of get everything together.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I would say 10 out of 10 would do the podcast again for another 31 episodes.
For another 31 episodes?
For another 31 episodes.
62 episodes?
Yeah, at least that many.
And then you'll see how you're feeling at that point.
Yeah, so Kyle, tell me about what's been going on in your life since I haven't been in it.
It's the first full week.
Is it the first full week?
Yeah, it's the first full week.
Have I been gone only a week?
Yeah, because you left on a
a week and some change. Yeah, that's true.
So, first full stint. But
what's it like not seeing my face?
Oh, it's so difficult.
Does it hurt your soul?
Oh yeah, it hurts my soul every time I wake up and I go, oh, I don't have to see that ugly mug.
From the moment I wake up, put on my makeup, say a little prayer for you. Anyways, any like you were saying, some exciting things were going on in your life.
Exciting things that are going on in my life?
Yeah.
Literally nothing. I had 4 days off this week.
God.
Which
4 days off? I mean, that is not... Yeah. It did die down a little bit after the holidays, so that's something, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, so I'm thoroughly accepting it. It was Monday through Thursday. I have off. And it's been great, apart from the fact I've been smothering sick.
Smothering sick?
Yeah, I've been ill.
Oh.
I fell ill on Sunday, and I've been sick the entire time of my days off.
That's exciting.
It's just my luck, really.
I mean, you're sick a lot, bro. You need to change your diet or something, because I feel like you are just always sick.
No, I was sick because Mum was sick. I got whatever she had. She brought it into the house.
You have a weak immune system.
I actually have a very good immune system, mind you.
I mean, I just want to point out that, like, in the last 30 episodes of the podcast, I think that you've been sick for half of them. Like, in some capacity.
To some extent, probably, Probably. I feel like that's a fair number.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think that you need to work on that, you got to start thinking about the podcast instead of, worrying about your health or something. Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm here. Even though I'm sick, I'm here recording.
Yeah, I know, and you're going to get me sick by being here.
Through the microphone.
Through the microphone. That's how good Discord is of a chat service. Sponsored by Discord. No, we're not. But if we were, that's what it would be like.
If Discord wants to sponsor us.
Discord, do you want to have people just listen to us talk about you and then download your stuff. If you want that, literally listen. Okay, listen how good we are at this. This is just a mock interview. Hey Kyle, have you heard about that new online chat service, that VoIP that you can get off of online interwebs?
No, Cody. What's it called?
The name of the name of it is Discord, and so like, you know, I don't know what relevance that has to like what the app does, but I can tell you right now that it doesn't create Discord in your life, because it's so easy to set up chat services, especially when it wouldn't work and pick up either of our microphones at first.
Gee whiz, Cody. The Discord sounds great.
Yeah, I sure do love the Discord. Bye, Discord.
The Discord. Sponsored
by stocks in Discord.
Yep, they're totally going to sponsor us now.
It's going to happen. I mean, they don't have any choice.
So, in between my illness and our sponsorship, what has your week been like?
I've had a couple job interviews just for, you know, small little places, which is nice. In terms of related to what we do, which is talk about games, so gaming and entertainment and such, I played some League of Legends and I played some Ranked, and I have, out of 5 games, I've won 4 of them, and it's all with the same champion. It's Senna, if anybody knows what League of Legends is, and the champions. And I have a 100% win rate on Senna right now, and for Ranked. And I need to keep this train going. I need to be like just the best Senna player in the world. And if that happens, maybe I'll be sponsored to be on a pro team or a semi-pro team, or like the amateur teams that people have talked about starting up.
It just keeps getting lower and lower.
Yeah, exactly. Like, please sponsor me. I promise we'll win it. If I play this champion and only this champion, we win 100% of the time. If it gets banned out, though, good luck, because I have a 0% win rate with any other champion at the moment.
With anything else?
Well, I mean, I only have one game with a different champion. You know what I mean? So that one game was a loss. So it's not really a good, you know, statistics set up there, but I'll take it at the moment if I have a 100% win rate.
If you look at it isolated,
yeah,
isolated from everything else, it looks amazing.
Yeah, but other than that, though, I've just been, you know, enjoying my time with my grandma, hanging out, doing stuff.
Doing stuff.
I don't really know what else to say. I think that's about it. Yeah, so it's exciting work. I'm glad that we both have so much to talk about when it comes to our lives. And I think because we have such exciting lives, we might want to just try to shuffle on over to some of these topics so people can listen to something that they care about.
That's actually interesting, you know, exciting.
And, you know, going off from that, some very exciting news, at least for Eric Concerned Ape Baron, who is the creator.
Great username.
Yeah, Concerned Ape. Yeah, who is the creator of Stardew Valley. He posted to Twitter less than almost a week ago now.
23rd.
Yeah, saying Stardew Valley has sold over 10 million copies. It's strange and amazing to think back to when I was making this game in my bedroom with no clue if anyone would like it. Only 4 years ago. To everyone who has played this game, supported it, and made all this possible, thank you. And it's crazy because an indie game, going from indie being created by one person, going to being like one of the best-selling indie games of all time, like 10 million copies, is nuts.
It's crazy. It's so cool to see.
It's nuts, and I mean, like it's on Mac, Linux, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, Nintendo Switch, iOS, Android, Windows, and apparently even certain Tesla cars have it installed.
That's the thing. I remember seeing that online.
Yeah, and it's no surprise that having it on that many different devices, you know, caused it to skyrocket to 10 million copies. But like, it's just such a nuts figure if you think about it. And how much is a game? Like $15 or something like that. Like if it's going for full price.
It's not expensive at all.
So Concerned Ape made a killing with it, especially because he made it himself, and he did have a Chucklefish as a publisher, and I'm sure that they took a decent percentage, but once he went off on his own, I mean, all that revenue was just going straight to him. It's nuts. It's a fun game, you know. If you like farming simulators, where you can have like a farm, you can, you know, go and fight little creatures inside of, like, you know, a collectathon almost in a way for a lot of the stuff, and a relationship, sort of having friendships and relationships and listening to character interactions and stuff like that. If you like that sort of game, this is probably one of the best games in recent years, like in the last 10 years, that has come out related to it. I mean, even the Harvest Moon games weren't, the last 10 years haven't been that great.
It's probably one of the biggest indie games as well. That might be a hot take to say it, but as far as indie games go, it's probably the one I've heard the most about since it's been launched. Consistently.
I mean, when it comes to...
Indie games come and go, but
yeah,
this one has just been steady for the past, 4 years now?
Yeah, when it comes to indie games, it's like... It's... I don't even think, like, what other indie games could you think of off the top of your head right now that are just as popular as this? I mean, you have stuff like... I know Untitled Goose Game sold 1 million copies, didn't they? Or they passed they passed $1 million in sales. I can't remember. It was one of those.
We
talked about it, which, you know, either way is pretty good. But yeah, so that's really good. I mean, selling 1 million copies as an indie developer is nuts in itself, right? But to go 10 million copies, that's so nuts.
It's ridiculous. And it's not just a case that it's a small indie developer, as in like a studio. It's a small indie developer, as in a guy. Yeah.
It's kind of, it's. I think what's cool too is like the saves are like compatible to be transferred over to different platforms. And since it's on so many different platforms, you can literally like transfer it anywhere. There was a recent update to 1.4 that like added a bunch of new stuff, so like, he's still adding some like more stuff to it, albeit a little slowly, but still adding new stuff to it and doing pretty much it mostly on his own. From what I've gathered, it's all when he works on Stardew Valley, it's mostly himself, like no one else really. And it's just, there's so much to it and there's so much about it, and it just really it makes you go, okay, like, I know, or if you remember several years ago, people saying like, "Oh, indie's gonna be the new thing. That's gonna be the new, like, way forward." And these like first party, like a AAA developers are gonna have a hard time competing with indie. And watching the success of this sort of game, the Stardew Valley, do so good as an indie game, it really shows that. I mean, that might be happening. You might be having more indie games coming. I mean, there's other really good ones too. I mean, you have like Owlboy. You have oh shit, like there's so many that I just can't think of right now. What is it? The Hollow Knight, that was an indie game, wasn't it?
Hollow Knight, I played the crap out of that game. It was so good.
Shovel Knight was an indie game originally. I mean, like there's just so many great games that indie developers that are out there. That's where indie development used to, in the day, be like, oh, this is just kind of like the scraps. This is kind of like just someone making something to kind of get their own take on something, but it's not as good. You know what I mean? Like, I just like,
a lot of them
carbon
are like
copy.
competition based as well.
Yeah, and
where it's like, oh, like, can you make a game in like 24 hours?
Yeah, and now it's like become a thing where it's just see what you can do, put it out, and hopefully you hit a success. And I mean, that's a good and a bad in this society, because the good from it is if you end up hitting something that lands really well with consumers and it's like it hits them well and people want to buy it and people want to like sponsor you for more stuff or whatever, you can make a killing and you can get out of the indie scene and go into something a little bit more like permanent. But on the downside is if it's not, you know, a successful game, or if it is a good game but it just doesn't do well in consumer lights or sales, that can be the shuttering of it could be a shuttering of an indie development studio and something that someone worked really hard on, or they had a lot of good ideas that they just weren't able to like get enough money to continue working on. It's a loss. So I mean that's just kind of how sort of the society works nowadays, especially in like, you know, when it comes to capitalism and money, it's about, can you make the money? If you can make the money, then you can survive. And if you just happen to, I mean, it doesn't matter how great your game is. If it doesn't make sales, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think 2020 should be the year of supporting indie developers.
Getting stuff out there, like fresh ideas that AAA studios haven't been able to come up with because they're looking at their past projects and coming up with stuff that's similar to their past projects, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So have someone that has these fresh ideas and just help kind of fund them and help do stuff with it. I think it'd be way better.
Give them a chance to make their vision and their dream a reality, because it could be the next biggest thing. It could be the next thing that changes how AAA developers look at developing games. Exactly.
And, you know, if you don't do that, then, you know, I know like a lot of people have issues with like microtransactions and stuff, like these AAA developers coming out with stuff and pushing these games that have a bunch of additional costs, or they don't release the full game. And people complain about this stuff, but then they don't go and support the indie developments that don't have that sort of stuff in it. And until we have some more support for that, showing that we don't care for, you know, this sort of way that they're doing business nowadays, then the AAA developers are just going to keep doing it. And I think now that we've shifted more towards not liking that stuff, we're starting to finally see a shift. And in that, Doom Eternal, if you know, which is Doom is owned by Bethesda now, has been for the last few years. They released the last smash hit Doom game, which did really well and was on multiple consoles as well. But Doom Eternal,
it was a very fun game as well.
Yeah, Doom Eternal creative director Hugo Martin said that in this game there is no microtransactions at all, which is sad that we have to constantly bring that up. And even sadder that microtransactions have went from something that you just kind of added in and people were fine with it because it was just like, oh, I get a little cosmetic things. But now that it's so different and that's not what it is at all, people have to come out and say, we don't have it or we do have it, you know?
Yeah, I think it was at E3 last year. I can't remember what studio it was or what conference it was, but they came out and they're like, their big announcement for one of the features in the game was no microtransactions, and the crowd went crazy for it.
That was I'm pretty sure that was Borderlands 3, and then it ended up having microtransactions.
Microtransactions,
yeah,
and that's might have been it. Yeah,
that's why they got so much backlash for it. Is because they were like, there's no microtransactions, and then after they were like, here's some cosmetic stuff, people were like, you said no microtransactions. And what's his name, Asshole McGee, the head guy of it that's always been a douche, was like, he was like, no, you guys misunderstood. I meant no like paid advantage or no DLC stuff, but there's totally gonna be microtransactions and cosmetics. Like, come on, how do you expect us to make money? And it's like, that's kind of what went down, like put sour taste in people's mouth.
Yeah, but looking like Doom Eternal, you'd be like, okay, you can see how it wouldn't have microtransactions, but then you look at the company that's behind it, it's Bethesda. You look at their recent track record, and it's almost hard to trust it.
Yeah, I mean, you have like Fallout 76 ended up having some stuff that was, you could say, was a little pay to win with it. It did have microtransactions and cosmetics,
repair kits and stuff like that you could just buy.
Yeah. And then also when it came to Skyrim and Fallout 4, them creating this like Bethesda DLC store where like you could buy this sort of these mods and stuff like that from them.
Yeah, it was like
Creator Workshop.
We're going to take these mods that were really high quality and really good, put a price tag on it, and sell it to you then. And the main selling point for it is that, but it works with the game, you can still get like your achievements and stuff.
Yeah, and so like for PC, that was the only positive parts if you wanted that, unless you did a workaround to allow them to still be active. And otherwise, though, like if you were on console, you had no choice but to use that. You had to use that shop if you wanted to get mods. Like they're like, we're gonna allow mods come to console, and then they like, here they are. You have to pay for each one of them. Good luck.
Yeah, like the coolest like armor mods and stuff like that are going to be paid for, and all the other ones you can get. But then we're going to disable your achievements. So, sorry.
Yeah. So according to Hugo Martin, like I said, he said that there is in-game experience for the game, but it's like purely for that part is purely for cosmetics, and there's no microtransactions related to that either. That like you get experience to get leveled up to feel better, but it doesn't unlock anything. Nothing crazy happens from it. He pretty much said straight up, Eternal is a $60 game, not a free-to-play game or a mobile game. We're giving you a complete experience with no store, just like you'd expect. That's awesome. That's all. I mean, that's what you want to see.
That's great. Yeah. And the fact that you're saying that there's going to be no store makes you think, okay, this is legit. There actually isn't going to be any microtransactions.
Yeah, the fact that they're not going to include any of that.
Like a store flat out, there's not going to be the option or even the idea of it there.
Yeah.
Which is so nice to see. I'm kind of getting tired of like opening up games and looking at like across the top, but be like single player, multiplayer, settings, store.
Right.
And it's like, I'm just turning the subtitles on and you're already asking me to spend more money on this game.
It's super frustrating, and I think that there's just so much better ways that they could do that. Like, if they just put something in somewhere and they put it underneath, like, a small button or, like, a small thing of text, and they say, like, store. And then that's it, and then they never bring it up ever again. It's fine. But, you know, people want money, so it's... I understand that as things go on, it sometimes can be harder to just release a game without adding additional content to spend money on, and that's fine. Like, I understand that aspect of it. Trust me, it's not that I mind paying for cosmetic stuff or like that others do or anything like that. It's just the way that it's so predatory about it, you know, loot boxes, like having a chance to get something, or
like if it's good content, if I'm paying, you know, $5 extra on a game, I'm okay spending that extra $5 if it's something that, you know, I want.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is like, you know, a weapon skin, or it's a cosmetic
several
skin,
weapon
or
skins,
it's a map or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, right, fine. I want it, so I'm okay spending the money on it. It gets bad when it's like, oh, if you want this skin, it's like, you have to pay $5 for a 1 in 100 chance of getting it.
Yeah. What I don't understand is why, like, these games don't go the route of, like, how other people do, and they just, like, here's a game that we spent a lot of time on, and we spent money, and, like, we're going to be releasing content for free because we know that you guys want that. And what we're going to do for that is, if you would like to see this sort of supported for longer than just a year or whatever like that, we're going to throw up a little donation thing. And if you want to donate to us to give us to like provide us with money for be able to like keep things going, great. If not, then you don't have to pay anything and you still get all the content. It's up to you what you want to do. Because to me, that's a really goodwill way of saying, like, listen, we do need money, and we would love, and if you love our product, you're fine with giving us money. But if you don't, or you can't, then you can still get all the content and you don't have to pay. Because there are people out there that appreciate that more and are going to go, I'm going to give this company $20 because I love their game so much and I want them to keep being able to create stuff for it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, I look at probably one of the more recent last big mess-ups when it comes to games and microtransactions and stuff like that would be Ghost Recon Breakpoint, Ubisoft's last Ghost Recon game.
Yeah, that was a trash.
They rushed to release firstly, so it was missing like a bunch of features they said were going to be in it, and then it was riddled with microtransactions.
It was like here's a game that's not finished, and then here, pay money for all this extra stuff that's not finished.
Like weapons and cosmetics and stuff like that. Some stuff that actually affects gameplay. And it's like, okay, that's kind of crap. But in recent months, they've went, okay, throughout 2020, we're going to renovate the game. They're going to start by taking out all the microtransactions. Like, they're just going to get rid of them and just add it to the game. They've been deciding that all the content they're going to be adding in the future is going to all be free, and they're going to work through adding all the features that they wanted to add. And they said they're going to do that. They're not just going to leave the game be and just be like, oh, didn't work, forget it. Because they messed up so royally, they kind of realised that, okay, we can't just kind of release a half-assed game and then ask you to pay monstrous amounts of microtransactions.
Which is funny because kind of talking on that point, it reminds me of a different game real quick that I'll splice in there before going to the next topic, is that it reminds me of, I don't know if anybody knows it, but the Artifact game or whatever that Valve released. And
yes.
it was super expensive to get into. You had to pay for the game, and then you had to pay for packs. I'm pretty sure we talked about it before, and we talked about how it had a dying player base. Well, apparently
I
it's
don't think
been
they've even had a player base.
apparently it's been a full year now since they went out and said we're not abandoning the game. We're gonna try to do more stuff, but you got to give us time to do it. It's been a full year since there's been that communication, and there's been no other communication. Nothing changed about it. Nothing added to it. Nothing talked about since then. And people are like, this is literally. I looked at something and they said like, all right, great. It's been a year, and if this was somebody, I don't know why they said this. I think it's like just something, but they're like, if this was a child in Germany, it would be considered legally dead. I don't understand what the point is. I'm assuming it's because like if a child doesn't have like any sort of interaction or like you don't see them for a certain amount of time, they're declared legally dead by like police officers or something. Like they're pretty much saying like if this is a person in a different country like that, when they deal with missing person cases, instead of leaving them missing forever, they just declare them dead because it's a good chance that they're gone. They were like, this would be declared literally dead if this was a person. That's how little updates we've had.
At least with Breakpoint, they are actually updating it. Like recently, they added like raids and stuff like that.
And that's what you got to do. You got to do that sort of stuff if you want to keep
add
up
more content. They're doing performance tweaks. They have an event that's this weekend, I think, where you get to fight the Terminator.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So they're adding actually stuff that makes you kind of go, okay, I kind of want to see that.
Do you think there's anything in there with zombies?
There probably will be at some point.
Yeah? Do you know what else will probably be at some point that has to do with zombies?
Oh, what, Cody?
The Resident Evil 8, that is...
If they call it that.
I mean, we don't know if it's going to be called that, but there's rumors that have finally come out, and this is just a quick little tidbit that we found interesting that we want to talk about. Is there some... We'll give our points on it, and then we'll say what else we'd like to see. But... some rumors about Resident Evil 8 have been leaked, according to Nibble or at Nibellion at Twitter, who also posted a YouTube link to some information about potential Resident Evil 8 leaks. Those include Ethan from Resident Evil 7 is the protagonist, which is interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, that's very curious. I thought his story was very much closed.
That's what I thought, but first person as well, so it's going to be much the same vein. Zombies return, which means actual zombies are going to be in this again. So we're going to see the virus somehow, probably. I would say it's something how like the sort of virus that was, brought out. Either another one or the same thing, but how it interacted with people is it just created zombies again. New enemy type, werewolves. Very interesting, because if you know Resident Evil, even though a lot of it is bullshit in terms of like the science behind it, they try to root it in as much reality as like how like zombies. It's a viral infection that was like like made as bioweapons.
Everything's about like genetic mutation
and bioweapons. Like it's basically about how these people are creating something to sell to people to use into populations to either gain control, to get money, or to kill people. Werewolves would be a very, very interesting thing that probably would have to do something, I bet, with splicing human DNA with wolf DNA or something like that.
I could see it.
A new stalker enemy type. So I'm assuming like I don't know if they're called stalkers, but like lickers and stuff like that. I think it's going to be something along the vein of that, but just a new enemy type like that.
Yeah.
And then...
maybe it'll be completely different.
Yeah, it could be. Who knows? But then you have Chris Redfield is going to return in some form.
New weird Chris. I still don't like how he looks.
You mean like super buff and like...
He was super buff. He wasn't super buff anymore, though.
Wait, is he not?
No, he got... his buffness has been turned down. He's not like a boulder anymore. He's still big. But he isn't
when was
Resident
this?
Evil 5 big. You see him at the end of Resi 7.
Oh yeah, you do. How did I not remember
DLC
that?
Where you play as him.
I didn't watch the DLC. I didn't play the DLC.
Yeah, he saves you. He throws you the gun that's called Albert or something.
I do know what you're talking about though. With the end of the game when he tosses you the weapon, he is a little
He's there for like 30 seconds.
He is a little thinner. He's
definitely thinner.
I mean, he's definitely he's definitely still like a strong boy, but he's
without a doubt.
He's just not like a fucking mountain.
Not punching boulders into volcanoes. Like
yes. So good. So good. Yeah, so what do you think about these rumors? Do you think that there's a potential of them being true? Would you like to see anything else, or what would you not like to see here? What do you think?
The whole first person, yeah, I think that's a given. I think the main like Resident Evil games are going to take that first person turn, and then they're just going to remake the old ones like they were in third person. And that's how they're going to do it. So you're going to get 2 Resident Evil games every so often. One's going to be first person, one's going to be third person. And then zombies coming back also makes sense with the Resident Evil remake success. They kind of realized people still love zombies.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's hard to go wrong there.
RE7 was good, and I liked the sort of, what is it, like the fungus sort of creatures. I thought that there was nothing wrong with them, but I think there's an inherent fear with zombies, whether they're actually scary or not. There's an inherent fear about them, and you know, it was cool having that departure, but it'll be nice seeing it kind of return back to that if it's true.
Yeah,
and they
like if it had that atmosphere of 7 with the first person and then zombies, it would be a really good horror game.
Yes, like they have actual horror elements, but then also just include the zombies, have them surprise you, you know, do interesting stuff, not just walk around like kill zombie, you know what I mean? Like have an actual proper like spook fest. Don't make it like Resident Evil 6 where it's like, okay, there's zombies, but like, are you ever actually scared of anything going on? You know, no. I think going the departure of third person, leaving that for like the remakes and stuff like that is super cool, but going down the route of a first person with the new Resident Evil games is the way that it needs to go, because first person just immerses you so much more. I think there needs to be puzzles.
VR compatibility.
Yes, there needs to be more puzzles. Resident Evil 7 was great. I think that the puzzle aspect could have been better. It was more just like sort of the puzzles weren't something that you had to focus on for the main story aspect. You know what I mean? Does that make any sense? Like it's something that you could do for like some side stuff, but it wasn't like super puzzle. I want it to be horror with the zombies, the ever looming like thought of like, oh, a zombie could be around the corner any time. Like, you know, you never know what I mean, even make it like how the first Resident Evil, the second, I think it was the second one. Which one was it where they did like a not a remake but like a remaster of it? And
the first one in the mansion.
The one with the girl, though. Is that it?
You could play as one of 2 characters. Yeah, there's one. I think it was one. It was 1 or 3. I don't know why either one of those speak out to me. No, it was one. It was one. I think it was one. Are you talking about the bit where you go through the door and it's that iconic zombie turn to you, and it's the first time you see one?
I'd know if it was that. I just can't remember if that was for that position. But it's the one where you can let the main, like, what's his name? Bruce or whatever the fuck his name. I cannot ever remember his name. He's like, he saves you from getting squished by like the top part coming down. He's like, you almost became a Jill sandwich. I think it was,
yes.
I think it was the first one.
God, yeah.
But
I think that might have been the first one.
It was the first or the second, and it was the first or the second. And what happens is that if you kill the zombies later on in the game, they become like they get revived and they become like super zombies, like red-headed zombies that are like crazy nuts.
Yeah.
And it was a way of trying to say, like, get through the game without trying to kill everything, you know, make things more difficult, try to evade them. Imagine that in, like, a first-person perspective where, like, you know, you go through your first playthrough and you're not expecting it and you're just killing people, getting them out of your way. And then you get into the late game and you're running through, like, a building that you had ran through before and you don't see the body of the zombie there and you're like, that's odd. Like, I remember killing these zombies. And then you're like, all right, well, the game must have just got rid of them after a time period, even though they've been sitting there this whole time. And then all of a sudden, like, you just have, like, super, like, nuts zombies just, like, running at you and doing crazy shit. And, like, obviously these had to be ones that you don't blow the head off of. Like, if you just kill them by shooting them in the chest or something like that.
Yeah, kind of like Resi 4, Resi 5 type of zombies.
Yeah.
Parasite people.
And
they can, like, run at you.
Yeah, and so, like, I think like that'd be interesting. That'd be super terrifying. I don't know. I'm interested to see it return to zombies. I personally I think zombies are kind of spooky, to be honest. But I'm more afraid of stuff that's quicker paced and that I don't kind of know how they're supposed to act. So I guess it really depends on what happens here.
Another thing for me would be story.
The story, yes. It's gotta have a good story.
Resi 7 had actually a surprisingly good story. I was invested.
Yes, the story was good. The characters were good. The gameplay was, good. The horror was great. The horror was the best part. It was legitimately scary from that, just the atmosphere, but also like the jump scares that came out. It didn't hit you over the head with consistent jump scares, but it had like enough. You know what I mean?
To keep you on edge.
And I think it's going to be sad seeing if zombies, if it's just back to zombies and there's no other like, main characters or stuff that you know of, you're going to lose a lot of that sort of, if you remember from Resident Evil 7, like walking around and sneaking around because like at certain parts because you knew like the dad, like daddy was walking around, or you knew that the mom was walking around, and you had to kind of like be sneaky, and that adds like a certain level of fear of like, I can't kill this person right now, so I have to be sneaky.
Yeah. And another thing as well is that if Chris Redfield's returning in some larger form, I'd like to have them address, even if it's just for a moment, whether the likes of Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6 are canon to these new games.
You mean like because they
like, it's the same characters. Like Chris Redfield's obviously been in it since the beginning, but in this world, did Resi 6 happen? Was there
so you want to know if it, because like from what I have gathered, the games are all canon, like the main story games, but like they just happen at weird time frames. So like you're right. I would like to know: does this take place before? Does it take place after? Like,
because doesn't he fly in? Isn't the helicopter he flies in an umbrella helicopter?
Yeah. Yes.
Which is like, I don't think that's ever been a thing that they said Chris was a part of.
No.
In his story.
But
he was stars in BSAA.
Exactly. And why do you know what I mean? Like, do we see, was Wesker in 7?
No, but the gun was named Albert.
The game was named, the gun was named Albert, and that's why I'm thinking about him, because I feel like that was Wesker's revolver.
Yeah, it was his iconic, very shiny gun.
Yeah, so I feel like there's some more behind this than we know, because I know that if this takes place after 5, then like Wesker's dead.
But then if it takes place after 5, why isn't Chris a member of the Biohazard guys from 6?
The BSA or whatever the fuck it is, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's true.
Chris retires after 5, because in 6 there's the whole thing where he goes to get him, and he's been all drunk and edgy in a bar.
Yeah, I wonder if, I feel like I remember something being like Umbrella is going down, because isn't like the whole thing is like Umbrella is kind of behind the whole situation, but it was in a way to try and like clean certain things up. Like they're trying to, if I remember correctly, I feel like I remember reading in the story that it's pretty much Umbrella isn't necessarily the good guys, but they're trying to, there's like a branch of them trying to undo the wrongs they did of starting to like put bio weapons and shit like that into the world.
Yeah.
Because a bunch of new places are putting it out now.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be curious.
We'll have to wait and see.
That, though.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what ends up coming out. I mean, it could. I think we should kind of prepare ourselves for a great game, regardless if it comes out anything like 7 did.
Like their track record at the moment is looking very, very good.
Yeah, if you don't count 5 or 6, like if you count 5 only for the fact that it was like kind of a fun romp with co-op, and you just don't count 6 because it overall was just it was just, the story was, it was in a day and age, it created a story that just wasn't a story that you needed for today's day and age. Too campy almost.
It was bad.
So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited to hear more about it.
Maybe we'll hear more about it while we're chilling at a new hotel.
A new hotel? What do you mean?
So, they're building an Atari hotel. A sentence I never thought I'd say.
Please elaborate, Kyle, because an Atari hotel, all I think about is a big wood-like looking structure that has joysticks out of the front of it, and I can just play really bad looking Pac-Man that I wish I was just playing arcade version of.
So, well, first you should address how the hotels will look. They won't be giant wooden structures with joysticks sticking out of them. The concept art for them is just a very nice, sleek-looking building with the Atari logo going across it.
Yeah.
So,
that's it. That's just like a nice black and red design on the fronts. Kind of looks like the Atari's.
Very sleek looking.
Yeah, it does look very sleek if it were to come out like this.
So, it is a series of hotels that they want to build that are going to be, quote, unique lodging experiences combining the iconic brand with a one-of-a-kind video game-themed destination. So they wanted to have like the latest in VR and AR technology to be able to host esports events and obviously play your classic Atari video games.
Yeah, so, I mean, as nuts as like there being a deck on the top of the roof that you can play a large like screened video game while you're standing up, which I think is a little ridiculous, but yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So the weirdest part of it has yet to come though. So the hotel development and design has been led by a one Shelley Murphy, GDS Group, and Napoleon Smith III, who you may know.
You may know that name.
Yeah, of the producer of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movies.
The reboots, yeah.
Yeah.
That did a shit of a lot of money worldwide, but were the worst movies.
Yeah. The article that we have up from PC Gamer actually says that the two films made a combined $750 million worldwide. They were also extremely terrible. So, it's weird. The first hotel is planned to be made in Phoenix, Arizona, with construction actually starting this year.
I mean, it says, that there's no lack of ambition in the enterprise, as additional hotels are planned to be made in Las Vegas, Denver, Chicago, Austin, Seattle, San Francisco, San Jose, so all like big major cities. And it's really weird. It seems odd, right? Like, why are they deciding to go into hotels? I mean, I don't think this is a bad idea, right? I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea.
No, I think this kind of ties in nicely to what we've been saying every time we talk about GameStop, about how people want an experience.
That's true.
I feel like this is Atari going, we're going to make a hotel in these actually quite popular locations for people, who spend time in hotels. Like, you look at, like, say, Chicago, Denver, Vegas, Austin, Seattle, San Francisco, San Jose, Phoenix. They're not all, like, the prime locations, but they're big enough that they'd pull people in, and it'd draw you to more so the experience of the hotel. Like, people be booking rooms in the hotel, not because they need to stay there, but because they want to be able to experience it.
Yeah.
As well if it's hosting esports events.
I feel like this is, like, something that mostly would appeal to like actual hardcore gamers. Like, you'd have to be someone that's like, I want a hotel, right? But I want to go to a hotel and just like have it be everything related to video games, and I just do stuff within that hotel. Yeah. You're not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna go to this video game hotel and then I'm gonna be exploring a city. Like, you know what I mean? Someone that's going to explore the sites and see the city and do crazy stuff.
You'd go for the hotel.
Like, you're going for the hotel, and that stuff is secondary. So you're like, okay, for the first couple hours of the day, we go out and we visit stuff, and we do whatever, and we check out these new places and see these locations. And then for the last half of the day, it's just inside going to whatever events are being hosted. It's like one of those like casino hotels, where you spend most of your time at a casino, or like you pay a little bit of extra of a fee because you're getting an experience there, but like you also spend most of your time there. Like, they have multiple things, and I wonder if this is what that's going to be like.
Yeah.
And it's not going to appeal to, I really think, too many other people other than people that are hardcore into that sort of like scene. You know what I mean? You're not going to have grandma go down to the Atari hotel and spend the money there to just be like, well, look at these crazy games. Okay, bye. You know what I mean? It's just, it won't happen. It's not that. You're not going to.
But in saying that, I think you would see some older people going because it's an Atari hotel. They might see that and be like, oh my god, that gives me blasts from the past of my childhood. I'm totally gonna go there just to see what it's like.
I mean, you might see like middle-aged people, like maybe like 45-year-olds be like, oh, I'll go here, and like they have an arcade where you can play old games. That's cool. But those are still not like, at least not the ones that we have nowadays. It's mostly not the base of people that like, when me and you turn 40, yeah, we'll probably think that that's the coolest shit that's ever happened and still go there and like play the games. But do you really think that the current like 45-year-olds are going to be like, oh, a place where I can go and play games all day, when they barely want to do anything except for sleep and watch TV? Like, it's just not, it's not something that I see happening, because they're not into that sort of stuff as much as our generation is, or my generation and your generation.
I think it's kind of funny that this is coming not long after what's the one they're building in I think it's in Florida, the theme park, like Nintendo Land or something.
Oh yeah, Nintendo Land. I think it's in Florida.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be it's going to be super awesome. I think that's cool, but that's also like a whole theme park. You know what I mean? So you go there for that.
Imagine if they built an Atari hotel beside Nintendo Land.
Beside it?
Yeah, right beside it.
I mean, to be honest, everyone would probably like benefit from that. So
honestly, like, I think everyone would win.
Yeah, everyone would win. And
so there you go.
I think it's really cool. I don't know if it's necessary, like it's something that people have been clamoring for, but you know what? I think it has the potential to do good if they do it right. And everyone would kind of win in those sort of situations. Just like everyone's winning right now, because the new consoles, PS5 and Xbox Series X, will avoid the US price hike over Trump's China trade tariff.
Thank God. So we talked about this before.
We did.
Many moons ago on the podcast.
Saying about how there's
possibility of the price hike.
25% tax.
25%.
That's a lot. In case you like, I think we went into the math the last time we talked about it, didn't we?
We did, yeah. We pretty much did it as like if the consoles were like $500, the price hike would put them up to like the 800 mark or something like that.
It's something nuts. It's like you're seeing a $100 price increase at the very least, roughly.
Yeah. And if you remember, I think it was Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, a bunch of games companies actually drafted up a letter that they sent to the US government, pretty much going, this is a bad idea. Because I'm pretty sure we talked about that as well.
Yeah, we did. According to the article that we're referencing right now on Tech Radar, it pretty much said, Trump had proposed a 25% tax on items moving from China into the U.S., but the Phase 1 agreement signed by the USA and China earlier this month means it's not going to go forward. We encourage that the administration suspended the implementation of tariffs on video game consoles and controllers. A spokesperson for the Entertainment Software Association, or the ESA, told Polygon. So, what it sounds like is literally, I don't know if it was because of their sort of them saying, please don't do this, like this is how much it's going to hurt our sales. You're going to see a lot of money. I mean, let's all be honest that everyone had to know, except for Trump, that this was a bad idea, right? Yeah. That this was something that was going to only cost consumers and then make it so the chance of us getting these products even in at all could be very low, right?
Yeah. Like it was there was no benefit from it whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, like it was a way to try and strong arm people that don't care about being strong armed.
Yeah, essentially.
So it would have just been literally a lose-lose situation for everyone involved. So not having that happen is nice. I don't know if like any other if any of the other tariffs have been disproposed, I suppose. But yeah, like you would have seen a price hike more than what's like what they're. I mean, do we even know the price of these consoles yet? I don't think so. So
no, we haven't gotten a price for any of them yet.
So if they're as powerful as they say, and they're going to, maybe increase a little bit with the price, especially if the solid state drive not being. I mean, yes, they're cheaper to get now, but still, you were looking at a huge an increase. An increase that, yes, like we said, if you would have looked at it, it would have been an extra $100 just from tariffs. And then if people wanted to make money after the fact of the tariffs, I mean, you would have been looking at probably another $50 to $100 there. So that's like $700. that you'd have been paying for a console.
Yeah.
Who's going to do that?
No one.
So that's good that didn't go through. We had to make sure we talked about it so that way everyone's fears could be alleviated, correct?
Yeah, that they can rest easy heading into 2020 that the price hike on their next generation of consoles won't be happening. There probably will be a little increase because obviously better tech means bigger price tag,
but not a tariff level increase.
You're not gonna look at like $100 to $200 of an increase.
No. But speaking about coming into the new year, Kyle, why don't you tell us about our favorite console that's ever existed?
So, the good old Google Stadia or Stadia. The amount of times I've talked about this, I still don't know what to call it.
I don't think anybody does. I'm pretty sure Google Stadia has came out and said that it's Google Stadia, but I mean, those are dumb Americans,
Stadia.
so...
Yeah. So it's been out for 69 days, Lamau.
Hey, Lamau. Actually, it's been 70 now, because that was a day ago.
That was yesterday, yeah. It's been 70 days, that's sad. But it has gone 40 days without any new games, announcements, releases, feature updates, or any community updates whatsoever.
Now, that's over a month, just so everyone knows.
Yeah. So, like, of the 70 days, 40 days of those have been radio silence.
And we've heard nothing about any of the issues. We've heard nothing about, like, updates on, like, when these things are going to, like, certain things are going to change. And there's, like, actually a little list here growing of where we stand with Google Stadia and, like, where the consumers who bought this are looking for. So why don't you just go ahead and read through some of these and we'll kind of touch them on each point.
Okay, so it starts off with saying, as expected, there hasn't been any further updates in January after the, quote, 120 game mystery bonanza.
So we don't know what those mystery games are. So there must have been some sort of, if you purchase this, like, you have a chance to get in this thing for 120 mystery game bonanza, where we release 120 games. All of them are probably clones of other games that aren't as good, or games that we've had on all the other consoles a million times over.
Yeah. As well as that, they're supposedly still 2+ months out until 4K on browser, or any assistant functionality at all, and the true wireless controller functionality advertised. So, the 4K on browser, assistant functionality, and the true wireless controller
are still 2 months out. 2+ months out.
Yeah, still aren't a thing.
And that's... The whole point was that you could play this on anything, right? And you would think in a browser they would have been able to get a streaming thing done right, especially considering that, like, browsers are capable of streaming already. And not having 4K immediately on them makes no sense. Probably costs too much money, to be honest, to, like, have it integrated into the browser window and have it actually have a proper effect, because going through a browser, what browser, like, or which HTML page, or what's going to have that much resources available that's going to want to stream at that?
Dedicate to that, as well as, like, the traffic that it might be taking.
Yeah, exactly.
This 120 games as well that were supposed to come out.
I think that was
been revealed.
I mean, that probably was the mystery bonanza, but who knows? They probably just weren't honest with any of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I was just gonna say the assistant functionality and the true wireless controllers. I mean, how do you not have true wireless controller functionality or, like, an assistant there to tell you how to get things set up? Makes no sense. Why would you even put the game it out?
It's like, for code for an assistant, you know, Google have their Google Assistant. They just have to alter it for the Stadia or Stadia.
Well, I mean, it's Microsoft, isn't it? Oh, no, it's Google. Why am I thinking this is Microsoft? Yeah, this is Google. I don't know why I got that in my head. I was like, that might be why.
Which makes it even worse.
Yeah, that's stupid.
And, like, a true wireless controller, it's like, that's not difficult technology.
No.
Like, people make those themselves these days.
Yeah, exactly. So then going down the list...
Going down to the list, the Pixel phone is still the only Android phone that has the Stadia functionality.
Which is not supposed to be how it was. That was supposed to be one of many phones that have functionality.
Yep, but still nothing. And as well as that, there's still no mention of iOS.
Which is a large portion of consumers still use iOS, so...
Oh, a massive, massive portion. Still no mention at all of the Stadia base.
The base edition, which is... the one thing that people probably are waiting the most for, because why would you pay for the pro version of it right now with it in this situation that it is?
Exactly. No mention of family sharing.
Great. The one thing that's also supposed to be important about it.
is that you could share it. Like, not at all. And there's still no acknowledgement that they've read or are listening to the community whatsoever.
Haven't said anything about it, haven't kept updates on it. Obviously, if they haven't said anything in the last 40 days, that part is part of it. But it's just nuts. Because especially, they were supposed to do daily updates. They scrapped that. So they said that we're going to do weekly updates. They scrapped that for bi-monthly updates. They never really said, and they still haven't done that. So
my favorite part of this list, that even their updates aren't going.
Their updates aren't being updated. So it's just, something that was $130 to buy into, just starting off, is nuts.
Yeah, and having pretty much 90% of it not working.
I saw there's a comment here on this this post that says the only update Google has even given is that they are tracking 120 games. That means that they have no clue who wants to put games on Stadia.
Oh, poor Google.
And someone said it's not even just putting games on Stadia. The big issue with it, and it sounds ridiculous, is that Google probably isn't throwing enough money around at this point. And it's true. They probably just aren't tossing the money in the right places because this was their way of making money, right? And to make money, you spend as little as possible. The idea of a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate business is we make money by not spending money to put things out there. So this is obviously like what works, right?
I think I'm gonna place bets on when we'll see like the full downfall.
I would say that in the next 6 months, Google Stadia will be either no more, or they will be talking about having limited support and putting out very basic stuff for it.
Yeah, like if it reaches the summer and is still going and they're still trying, I'll be genuinely surprised.
Yeah, good effing luck. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that it's an xCloud dropping this year.
Yes, I think it's supposed to be dropping at the end of this year with the release of the new console.
With the launch of the next gen console. So they're definitely not making it that far.
Yeah. So I'm going to say 6 months, but
6. Yeah, that seems like a fair bet.
To be honest, let's just move on to something else that I'm more hopeful for seeing, because I could care less if Google Stadia even fixes these issues, because there's still so many more that we've talked about. So let's talk about something that an actual real proposition of something that could happen that would be awesome.
And that'd be very cool. So, as you know, there is a Lord of the Rings TV show been made for Amazon, I believe.
Yes, there is.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yep, it's for Amazon.
Yep. So the writer for that guy...
for that guy.
That guy, Lord of the Rings. That one Lord.
The one Lord. Lord of the Ring.
Jennifer Hutchinson, I believe, took to Twitter, tweeting, quote, "Let me write a Dishonored TV show, you cowards."
God, it'd be so good.
I love as a tweet. So, for those who don't know, Dishonored is a first-person stealth stabby murder game. That's the technical term for it. Dishonored is
there's a lot more to it than that, but yes.
That's the core idea.
Dishonored is like a you're a person that basically gets these powers, right? To stop shit from happening. And in these like horrible it's like kind of dystopian
steampunky
sort of like worlds. And you can be sneaky, or you can be guns blazing, or you can you can use your powers and upgrade them more, or you can choose not to, so that way you're not taking more in, depending on if you're playing the second one or the first one. If you kill people, then even if you do, no matter which way you do, if you kill people, you have technically a worse outcome in the game. Whereas if you...
it works off a chaos system.
Yeah, it basically, it's like, you kill people, it creates more rats, because there's more dead bodies littering the streets, and there's more, plague going around, which means there's more death going on, which means the city's in more ruins afterwards, because you decide to go around killing everybody. Whereas if you just, knock people out, or hide them, or run past them, or anything like that, those rats don't proliferate, the diseases don't proliferate, and you're making the kingdom kind of go back into a better sort of environment.
Yeah. But obviously, that's harder to do when you can't kill anyone. So
exactly.
You take the hard path, which makes things better. You take the easy path, which makes things worse.
I finished Dishonored
Great
1.
game.
I really need to finish playing Dishonored 2.
Yeah, I got about halfway through it. I think I started playing something else and I got
Yeah,
distracted.
that's exactly what happened to me. It was just like, I don't know if this is the same for you, but for me, it was like, this is too similar to the first one. Like, it was so similar. But there was added chores. So, like, I had to pull out a heart that, like, showed me where certain collectibles were, and I had to do that. And I'm just like, okay, you made it more chore-filled version of the first one.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed them though. I'm definitely going to go back and play.
Yeah, I should definitely play the second one.
The Dishonored 2 without there. So yeah, the Witcher for the Witcher? No, the writer for Lord of the Rings
Don't jump ahead of
said
yourself.
that they want to write a Dishonored TV show with other fellow writers like Mitch Dyer tweeting, "Seriously, I would do despicable things to work on this."
And then,
which is a beautiful, beautiful quote.
which is funny because then you had other writers come out and talk about other video games that they would like to do, like writing. Which who knows if things were jokes or not? But I feel like this would be cool. One writer said yes, but only if I can write a BioShock TV series. Oh my god, that'd be amazing.
That'd be phenomenal. But the one I'm excited for, if it happens, is another one saying that he wants to work on a Stardew Valley family drama.
Now, I feel like that one was a joke, but if it was serious, it'd probably still be good, let's be honest.
It'd probably still be so good.
It'd be so good. So, I mean, hey, this is interesting, though, to see these writers come straight out and say, like, let me work on these video game properties. We'll make sure that people watch them and think they're good. And you want to know why this is happening? Because The Witcher.
My baby, The Witcher.
Because The Witcher is coming out and it's doing good. Because Star Wars stuff is coming out, even though that's not strictly a game. Like, you have a lot of stuff based on that sort of property. You're gonna have Lord of the Rings coming out, which has a lot of video game related property stuff to it, the fantasy element. But The Witcher, I think, doing well is like a big reason for this.
Yeah, it's a massive one. And speaking of Witcher, with the success of the first season, as we talked about last week, I believe.
Yep.
For nearly 50% of all Netflix accounts watched at least a part of the show.
Yes. Tons of people.
Netflix has ordered a anime,
which is
it's
interesting.
Going to be called The Witcher: Nightmare of the Wolf.
What do you think made them decide to do this?
Rumor had been going around it for a while, even before the release of the Witcher TV show. There was talk of like an animated show been made and stuff like that, but it just never gained any traction. And I say what happened was Witcher was so successful, Netflix see that they're not going to have another season till start of next year. So they greenlit this idea of doing the animated, is it a show or a movie?
Yeah,
it's a film. Yeah.
For what?
The Witcher animated, it's going to be a film.
Oh, it's going to be a film. I thought this was
It's a film.
Oh.
Yeah, I wasn't sure at first. Yeah, it's a film. It's an anime film that's going to be made by...
that sounds smarter. There's no point in having two shows go off at once, yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be made by the Korean animation house Studio Mir, which, if you don't know, made things like Voltron, Legendary Defender, and The Legend of Korra.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to be kind of like a cartoony anime, like sort of just like maybe something like that.
Yeah. So if watching like Korra and stuff like that, it's cartoony, but then when you get into like the combat and stuff like that, it has this very like harsh but flowy movement to it. So imagine putting that in a grittier style in The Witcher, with instead of water flying around, it's blood.
That's kind of legit.
Sounds fantastic to me. So the writer teams are actually the producers from the TV show. So it's Lauren Hissage and Beau DeMayo. So it's actually a tangible part to the show itself. Now it's unclear if they work canonically with each other, but it is going to expand on the world of the live action show. So they are canon to each other.
So they're canon pretty much.
Yeah. But we don't know if it's going to be canonical in any way.
Meaning no,
like
canonical
is it going
and canon
to go
are the same
with
thing.
the Witcher timeline?
Yeah, you mean
I mean like if it's going to go in time.
You don't know if it's going to be something that's like part of stuff that's already happened, or if it's going to be canon in the sense that this is a new story that's canon to it.
Yes.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I was confused for a second. I was like, how can it be?
Yeah.
How can it be canon? But then you're saying that you don't know if it's going to be canon. I get what you're saying. You don't know if it's going to be part of a previous event that's
Is it going to work with the show's timeline, or is it going to be a separate independent story? But either way, they're going to expand on this world.
I think that's super cool. I think that I'm super into that. It's
awesome.
I think it's just something that's like, it's another thing that The Witcher is, you know, like that they're expanding upon that universe. I mean, you just had Thronebreaker come out onto the Switch, even though they just talked about how they're not going to be having support for the consoles anymore, which I thought was weird.
Just it's sad, but they probably just don't have the player base on it.
Yeah, and they wanted to do I mean, like the Gwent in of itself is going to be, you know, I mean, it's one of those things like, yes, it does have a lot to it, but there's only going to be so much that they can add to it that's not already being done a million times by other stuff. And I think I think honestly, they're running kind of out of ways to do it. And they said themselves a while ago that they want to do a complete rehaul. I think it was like last year. It was 2 years ago now. They wanted to do a big overhaul of Gwent anyways. And then when they I think that they started to do differences to it, but when they did, it kind of culminated into Thronebreaker, that sort of single player RPG experience with the card game. And I think that works better for them instead of like a live service of having to constantly come up with new cards and have to constantly come up with that stuff. They'd rather just make a whole new thing that they can work on, which makes sense. I understand it.
Which makes perfect sense, especially when you see rumors that apparently they've renewed their licensing for Witcher and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's just
like they could be dropping Gwent soon enough to move on to something else, which means we'll probably see even more Witcher content coming in the next 12 to 24 months.
If we haven't had enough already. Not that I'm saying that I'm tired of seeing Witcher. I'm just saying, like, there's been a lot.
2020s.
2020.
The decade of The Witcher.
Yes, 2020 years of Witcher. But
it's going to be the decade of The Witcher.
Yeah, it's true. It's
calling it now.
Yeah, decade of The Witcher. Got it. All right, the next 10 years, nothing but Witcher.
But Witcher.
But Witcher.
Non-stop.
But yeah, I think for us, is there anything else that you'd like to add? Anything that you wanted to talk about?
I'd like to talk about the current cheese market.
All right, so it looks like that's it for us this week at the Geek Cause. We appreciate your guys' continued support. Once again, I want to thank you all for those 500 total listens. I can't wait till we get more. The more we get, please share this, please like this stuff, comment, interact with us because we want to interact with you. And if you don't, well, we're just going to keep going and talking anyways, so you'll never get rid of us.
Yeah, it's like we're not going to stop.
But we do appreciate any support that we get. We know we have quite a few people that do support us, and we appreciate that like wholeheartedly. It does mean a lot to us. And we'll keep doing this for as long. Yeah, we'll keep doing this for as long as we want to. And the more support that we get makes us want to do it more. So there's that. You can wet your whistles with that and put that in your back pocket and take it to the candy store and buy yourself a Jawbreaker. So thank you guys so much for listening to us this week. We love you.
Love you.
We love you.
We appreciate you. Oh, God.
Damn it, Kyle. You're fucking it up.
You first. You first, then me.
We love you.
We appreciate you.
I always forget this part.
You're the best.
You're the best. And we'll see you next week.
You always forget that. Bye.
Bye.